Kasi hindi lang po pera ang ninakaw sa inyo. Anong ninakaw sa inyo? Sa bawat pisong ninanakaw, sa kaban ng bayan, ninakaw sa inyo yung pang-pensyon ni mami, yung pampa-hospital sa mga anak ninyo, yung pampaaral ng mga kabataan. Bawat pisong ninakaw sa inyo, yan, yung buong kalsadang yan, pwede nang ipasemento sana yan. Pero hindi nangyayari. At ito po ang kinagagalit ko. At dapat nyo rin mong ikagalit. Simplihan lang po natin. Pag nagnakaw ka ng mangga, namitas ka ng mangga sa kapitbahay mo, nanguha ka ng lata ng sardinas, anong gagawin sa'yo? Kulong! Sa presinto ka magpaliwanag. Pag nagnakaw ka ng daang bilyong piso, anong gagawin sa'yo? Hindi, pakinggan muna natin. Imbestigahan natin. Mag-hearing muna tayo. Pagbigyan natin. Yung nagnakaw ng mangga at saka ng sardinas, presinto ka magpaliwanag. Yung nagnakaw ng daang bilyong piso, si Zaldico, ayun, nasa Spain. Namamasyal pa. Nasa ibang bansa. Pagbalik dito, may sakit. At dahil may sakit, wheelchair. Hindi nakakulong sa kulungan. Saan nakakulong? Sa ospital.
Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Pati ako gusto ko na maiyak eh. Alam niyo kung bakit? Sayang. Sayang ang pinaghirapan ng ating ama. Ng ating Pangulo, Mayor Digong Duterte. Sa panahon ng 2016, nang siya'y naging Pangulo, nasa kanya lahat ang pinakamahirap na nangyari. Yung COVID-19. Walang pondo ang bansa. Pero pinilit niya na magampanan upang mailigtas ang mga buhay ng ating mga kababayan.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
Kasi it seems like, ngayong pumutok ang issue ng flood control project, ngayon lang ata tayo na naghahalongkat. Baka meron pang iba dyan ng mga ghost flood control and anomalous flood control projects. Yung sa St. Timothy Construction, completed, tagtas completed, February 2023. Alam niyo po ba to?
Sir, based doon sa information provided by our audit team leader po assigned under the DPWH First District of Bulacan, hindi po siya na, kumbaga, yung pong documents po kasi nun, sir, was not submitted sa auditors natin. So they issued AOM, and dahil sa tagal...
Budget is now online, but it's very difficult. Hindi siya interoperable. So kapag naka-blockchain na tayo, you can actually go use AI to help analyze the budget. Gusto mong malaman anong porsyento ng budget na punta sa edukasyon, you can query it, and because it's digital, your ChatGPTs and Geminis will be able to provide answers. Correct, di ba?
Correct. It is very interoperable po with other technology.
You can actually access AI and other tools to understand the budget better.
Ang pwede pong gawin dyan is dadaan po yan sa mga data visualization and other tools to simplify the blockchain para sa ating kababayan.
If our contracts are on the blockchain, pwede mo i-compare yung presyo ng semento sa retail at yung presyo ng semento sa bill of materials ng mga infrastructure projects in government.
Kayo ba may kasabwat sa BOC sa Subic? May butas yung inyong storya, maraming butas. Gusto mo magpaliwanag?
Yes po, yun. Ang EPCB po, sir, nirent po kami, ginamit po yung company namin.
Yun. 14 containers, ang value nun 130 million. Yun ang valuation. Saan mo nakuha yung 130 million?
Kagaya po ng sinabi ko, sir, kami po yung may-ari po ng EPCB, pero meron po kaming kausap po dito na importer po.
So, sino yung kausap nyong importer? Pangalan?
Si Mr. Bautista po, sir.
Anong first name?
Kevin Bautista Evalio po. So, lahat po naman itong dokumento, including po yung mga picture na examination, sa kanya po nanggaling. Sinend niya po sa akin.
Taga saan si Mr. Kevin?
Na-meet ko po siya, sir, sa Port of Subic na po.
Matagal mo na siyang kilala?
Etong year lang po kami nagkakilala.
Paano kayo nagkakilala?
Through referrals lang din po ng
Sino
mga...
nag-refer sa kanya sa inyo?
Sa mga kaibigan lang po na brokers po.
Sino yung kaibigan? Pangalan, we need names. So meron na tayong Kevin Evalo. Sino pa yung mga nag-refer sa inyo na kaibigan?
Hindi ko po ma-recall, basta po nung binigay lang po yung number niya, ito sabi niya naghahanap ng consignee na baka po pwede sa company mo.
Taga-customs ba nag-refer sa'yo?
Hindi po, ano lang din po.
Please mo naman sumagot ng hindi. Hindi pa ako tapos na sa pagtatango eh. Hindi
Sorry
ka na
po,
kaagad eh. So sino nag-refer kay Mr. Kevin Evalo sa'yo?
I-try ko po i-recall, sir, kasi ang naging, kung ano tuloy po talaga is number lang po agad eh. I-recall ko po, Your Honor, kung basta nangyari po yan sa port po sa Manila. Meron po kasi mga brokers lunch dyan, mga co-brokers po, yung mga nakatambay po, parang waiting area po.
Puro tambayan pala dyan, tsaka ano, no? Ha? Tambayan para makapag-usap at makakakuha ng 130 million na produktong pwedeng ipasok. The committee secretary is instructed to invite Mr. Kevin Evalo for the next hearing.
Totoo po ba na meron kayong natatanggap na 5 million buwan-buwan from PCSO? At bukod pa po dyan, meron pa po kayong natatanggap na 10 million pesos kada buwan from the Office of the First Lady. Bukod pa po dyan, di pa po tayo natatapos. Meron pa pong 10 million every month na binibigay sa PCO from the Office of the Executive Secretary. Meron din pong nakapagsabi sa akin na meron kayong napakalaking vault sa PCO na lalagyan ng pera. Kung ako po ba'y magpapadala ng tao ngayon dun para mag-inspect for the existence of a big vault na naglalaman at sisidlan ng pera, pwede nyo po bang i-confirm or i-deny ang existence ng vault na yon na lalagyan ng pera? Kaya hindi ako naniniwalang hindi na mo problema sa pera ang PCO dahil napag-alaman ko rin, if you can confirm, nagme-maintain po tayo ng 4 na head vloggers who are receiving 75,000 pesos monthly. At yung bawat head vlogger na yon ay merong, kumbaga, downline o meron siyang sinusupervise na 10 vloggers who receive about 10 to 50,000 pesos allowance depende sa kanilang performance para kalabanin ang mga kritiko ng administrasyon. During the budget hearing for the PCO, sinabi ko baka yung GAO na yan, GAOs na yan pati yung contract of service personnel, yan yung mga keyboard warriors ng PCO na madiin naman na itinanggi ng ating secretary. Pero ngayon ay nananatiling mahiwaga sa akin dahil sa aking paniniwala, itong mga job order na ito at mga contract of service ay ginagamit talaga na keyboard warriors para mag-react at mag-comment ng maganda sa mga social media platforms ng administrasyon.
Madam Speaker, Your Honor, kahit tingnan niyo po ang budget ng PCO, wala po kayo makikita per line na ganyan po na for keyboard warriors. Lahat po, we still contend that kung ano man po ang nakikitang mga likes, these are organic likers po sa mga social media. Wala rin pong ginagamit ng mga reactors. Alam niyo naman po ngayon, masyadong mainit po ang social media. Kung sa presidente po, sa PCO, marami pa rin naman pong masasabi akong loyalists or talagang nagmamahal po sa ating presidente at naniniwala po sa kanyang administrasyon. So, hindi po yun na mga likers po o mga parang reactors po na ginagamit. Mache-check niyo po yan sa item. Wala pong ganyan po sa sinasabi niyong mga reactors po, Your Honor.
Kayo po ba'y sigurado dyan na distinguished sponsor, Madam Speaker?
Madam Speaker, Your Honor, yes po, Your Honor.
Sapagkat meron po akong nakausap na nagtatrabaho dyan na bukod pa po sa kanyang 7,000 a month allowance, meron po siyang 500 pesos load allowance, and if their post reach a certain virality, meron pong platform specific bonuses na matatanggap yung mga creators natin at mga warriors. Let me read to you. Pag ang TikTok content po natin has reached 500,000 views, meron po siyang incentive na matatanggap na additional 5,000 pesos. Pag nakatanggap, pag umabot naman ng 1 million views ang TikTok content niya, meron na namang dagdag na 5,000 piso. Sa Facebook, for write-ups and art cards, pag umabot ng 500 shares, yung art card mo, meron kang additional 5,000 pesos incentive. For video content, Pag umabot ng 500,000 views with 500 shares, meron ka na namang tumataginting na 5,000 piso na pabuya o reward. Sa YouTube naman, maka 300,000 views ka lang, meron ka na namang additional 5,000 pesos na gantimpala. At bukod sa yung 500 peso na allowance sa internet or prepaid load nila or whatsoever.
Madam Speaker.
Valid naman, di naman natin sinasabi. Valid naman yung concern ng mga nag-ayaw doon sa Supreme Court ruling on the impeachment proceedings. Pero makikita mo nga rin din ako na napaka-ipokrito kasi. Sobrang naiipokrituhan ako. The same people na nagsasabi na kapag paborable sa kanila ang desisyon ng Korte Suprema or any other institutions for that matter, pag paborable sa kanila yung ruling o yung mga nangyayari, ito ay pagpapakita ng rule of law, justice, due process, as enshrined in the 1987 Constitution Bill of Rights. Pag against sa kanila,
ay oppression, suppression ng ng rule of law, ganyan.
Kaya tingin ko, diyan may expose yung pagkapanatiko ng mga fanatics. And fanatics, iba-iba kulay yan. May fanatikong dilaw, pink. In the same manner, may fanatikong DDS, pula, green, asul.
Politikang ina mo.
Maybe we got lost in translation. Maybe I asked for too much, but maybe this thing was a masterpiece. So you tore it all up, running scared. I was there, I remember it all too well.
Ang layo po sa realidad. 84 pesos. No one in this hall will believe that 84 pesos is enough. Ang sabi po ng DepDev, the food poverty threshold for a family of 5 is 422 pesos per day, or if you divide it per head, is 84 pesos per day. Nag-a-agree ba ang Department of Labor and Employment through the National Wages and Productivity Commission dito sa 84 pesos per day na food poverty threshold para mabuhay ang isang manggagawang Pilipino at makakain siya ng masustansya at hindi magutom sa isang buong araw?
Madam Speaker, distinguished colleague, those are official statistics, and of course, the Department of Labor and Employment are following the what is the placed in the law.
Thank you, Mr. Sponsor, Madam Speaker. Malaki po ang problema ng Department of Labor and Employment through the National Wages and Productivity Commission when it claims, it believes that 84 pesos is enough for a single Filipino to eat nutritiously and survive for a day. That is unacceptable. Hindi po kasi kapani-paniwala. At kung ito ang batayan ng National Wages and Productivity Commission when determining wages, hindi po nakapagtataka. Nasapat na pala yung sahod ng mga manggagawa ngayon kahit hindi ito nakakasustain ng buhay. All the minimum wage earners. Ang inihingi lang natin, maging patas yung mga gagong mga politiko na yan. Patas tayo lumaban. Patas tayo mabuhay. Pero hindi patas ang pagtrato sa atin ng mga manggagawa. Tapos mababalitaan natin ang sarap ng buhay ni na Martin Romualdez, ni na Zaldico, ni na Chis Escudero, ni na Grace Po, ni na Joel Villanueva, si Jinggoy. Habang nagkakandakuba ang mga manggagawa kakatrabaho, anong mababalitaan natin? Yung mga gagong mga buwaya, kinukurakot yung pondo, yung pinagpaguran natin, yung galing sa dugo at pawis ng mga manggagawa. Napakababa, barat na nga yung sahod, hindi na nga binibigay yung benepisyo natin, ang laki pa ng kaltas sa sahod natin. Hindi na nga natin mapag-aral yung mga anak natin eh. Pag nagkasakit, hindi natin madala sa ospital eh. Pag ang politiko nagkasakit, nagka-problema sa katawan niya, nagpapagamot ba sa Pilipinas? Pupunta ng Singapore, pupunta ng US, Zaldico, nandun nga sa US eh. Hindi natin mapakain ng tama yung mga anak natin. Tas anong mababalitaan natin? Yung mga anak ng mga politikong congressman at senador, ang sasarap ng kinakain. 100,000 ang binabayad sa bawat kinakain, samantalang ang mga manggagawa nagkakandakuba na sa pagtatrabaho. Hindi na nga kayo makapasel eh. Yung anak
Maybe I asked for too much, but maybe this thing was
American Wendigo is terrifying. You see, it tries to lure you into the woods by mimicking people or animals or whistling sounds to try and draw you outside. Now, there's a lot of lore around the Wendigo. For instance, they say you should never look it in the eyes because once you do, it will have control over you and can lure you out into the woods. They also say it has this supernatural ability to make pets not be aware of its presence. And it's also said that it cannot enter a home that is not built with wood from the forest which it resides. Now, most of the stories in America of the Wendigo come out of northern Minnesota. Now, there was this woman named Kathy. Kathy said during this period of her life, she was going through some really hard financial times. And she had this friend in Minnesota who owned several acres and had this trailer. And her friend was like, you know, if you need a place to stay until you get back on your feet, you can come live in my trailer. But the trailer, you know, was like a mess. You'd have to clean it up, but you're more than welcome to come here. So Kathy takes her friend up on this offer. She drives across country to Minnesota, and she gets to her friend's house about 8 at night. Her friend immediately takes her to this trailer, which is almost like a half a mile away from where she lives. So Kathy goes inside the trailer. You know, it was like this huge mess, and she started cleaning it up and making it look nice. At about 1 o'clock at night, she started to get tired. So she said, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and lay down. Now, being that they were in the middle of the woods, she didn't think she should lock her door on the trailer because she said, you know, we're out here in the middle of nowhere. Who's going to get us? So her and her dog, they lay down.
Maybe we got lost in translation. Maybe I asked for too much, but maybe this thing was a masterpiece. So you tore it all up, running scared. I was there, I remember it all too well.
Most people don't know this, but the largest office building in the United States isn't in Washington, New York, or Silicon Valley. And no, it's not the Pentagon. It has no grand towers or flashy logos. From the outside, it looks like a giant slab of concrete dropped beside the Chicago River. Most people walk past without even noticing. But inside, it's a different world. Step through its unassuming doors and you'll enter over 4 million square feet of space, more than the Empire State Building. There are endless halls, private offices, showrooms, tech labs, cafes, design studios, and freight elevators big enough to move cars. Some employees joke that they need a map just to find lunch. It was built in 1930 during the Great Depression, designed as a central marketplace for retailers and wholesalers. At one point, it had its own ZIP code, its own fire station, and even its own broadcast station on site. For decades, it was owned by the Kennedy family. Now, it's home to everything from Fortune 500 companies to fashion expos and tech startups. No headlines, no spotlights, just silent, continuous innovation. It's called the Merchandise Mart, and it might just be the biggest office building you've never heard of.
The most terrifying hiking trail in the United States is located in Tennessee, in the Appalachia, a place called the Norton Creek Trail. Now, the Norton Creek Trail is about an hour from Knoxville, Tennessee, and probably about 20 minutes from Gatlinburg. Now, this trail goes through the Smoky Mountain National Park, and this area has the highest concentration of old pioneer cemeteries and abandoned homesteads that you can actually visit. This area is known for ghostly apparitions, orbs, people disappearing. There is a famous story about a pioneer settler who went looking for his missing daughter on this trail and actually was found unalived. Now, the creepiest legend, though, in this area is that of Spearfinger. Now, Spearfinger is this old Cherokee legend that there is this witch who they described as being sometimes 40 feet tall, having skin like rocks, and this long, sharp finger that is shaped like a spear. And the creepy thing about Spearfinger is that she could shapeshift. She could be anyone, your auntie, your cousin, your best friend, and she could be walking right behind you. You turn around and she sticks her long spear finger into your back, rips out your liver, and eats it. Now, this story comes from this same general area. there was this woman who said when she was a young girl, her and her brothers and sisters, they lived in this small shack in the Appalachian Mountains. And she said, they were very poor. So this house was, not that big. They all shared a bedroom. And they said their father had to leave them alone for a couple days.
Gio, ipapakita ko sa'yo.
Wait lang bro, reply lang ako.
Dali na, reto ko to sa'yo.
Reto bro, pass na ako dyan bro, okay na ako.
Bakit? May kachat ka na ba?
Meron na bro, may ka-talking stage na ako sorry.
Talking stage lang naman pala
Bro, sorry pero mahal ko na
Mahal agad?
Oo bro, mahal na mahal ko na. So, yung reto mo, pass na ako.
POV, you reside at the uptown part of the city, and you have a functional traffic scheme daily at 6 to 8 a.m. Thank you, RTA personnel, for manning this scheme.
Now am I wrong for trying to reach the things that I can't see? But that's just how I feel. But that's just how I feel. That's just how I feel. Trying to reach the things that I can't see. Am I tripping from having a vision? My prediction, I'ma be on top of the world. Don't look back, always do what you decide. Don't let them control your life, that's just how I feel. Fight for yours, so don't let go. Don't let them compare you, no. Don't worry, you're not alone. That's just how we feel. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? Thinking that we could be something for real. Now am I wrong? Am I wrong? For trying to reach the things that I can't see. But that's just how I feel. That's just how I feel. That's just how I feel. Trying to reach the things that I can't see. If you tell me I'm wrong, I don't wanna be right. If you tell me I'm wrong, I don't wanna be right.
Sasha Colby said it best when she said that we are witnessing Kiana's growing pains on Slasion Royale.
I heard that you are in the middle of a rebranding period, right? And I think this is what we're witnessing. We're witnessing your growing pains. Yes. And it's nothing to be ashamed or to be worried about.
Throughout this season, it has become apparent that the Kiana that we are witnessing on Slasion Royale is different from the Kiana that we witnessed on Season 3. And though we should acknowledge that the edit has a lot to do with that presentation, I also want to posit that I think a lot of it has to do with the age that Kiana is at the time of filming, and why I relate to it. At the time of filming Season 3, Kiana had just freshly turned 22, which is always a very interesting time in one's life because, that's the age when you might be leaving university and going to experience the real world for the first time, or you're finally starting to experience life on your own, or what have you. But the point is that it's a very formative age in one's life, and a lot of the time you were guided by a blind confidence in your own skills and your own talents. And a lot of the time that blind confidence can get you a long way, as it did with Kiana, who ended up being the runner-up on Drag Race Philippines Season 3. And make no mistake, she is undoubtedly talented, but I do think a lot of that confidence is what really pushed her even further. And I think drove a lot of her underdog storyline on that season because all of the girls around her would underestimate her, but she had that confidence in herself. She had that blind confidence herself that only comes when you're in your late teens or early 20s. And that really carried her through all the way to the end. But at the time of filming Slasion Royale, Kiana was almost 24. And I know that it sounds like the gap in between those two ages doesn't sound like a lot, but I feel like a lot of people can underestimate how much change one goes through during such a short time, especially during those ages. When you hit that age of like your mid-20s, you start to get hit with an unexpected wave of insecurity and self-doubt. But it's strange because you have the talent and you have those skills, but at this age, it's just really hard to shake that imposter syndrome. And we see that difficulty happen to Kiana more than once on Slation Royale. But ironically, I feel like after watching Slation Royale, I have found a sort of deeper connection with Kiana as a character, and I really identify with her because I myself have recently entered my mid-20s, and I understand a lot of the feelings and a lot of the doubts that Kiana is going through as we witness on Slation. And Growing Pains really is the perfect way to describe it, because even though it may seem difficult to get through as you're experiencing it, you recognize and understand that once you get through it, once you shake this disillusioned self-doubt, you will be for the better, and you will come out stronger. And so while yes, Kiana may not have performed at the same level that she did on season 3, I think the Kiana that we are going to get after this season is going to be a household name and a worldwide phenomenon. So Kiana, if you are by chance watching this, we love you, the fandom loves you, and we cannot wait to see where your career goes further than it already has.
Biasa mo yung pang-hour
I needed you to fight for us that night. Because I was so tired fighting alone.
So yeah, it's been a rough week. So see, Dad got me a new car for my birthday. It was a Miata. And like, me and the driver pa lang, it's gonna be so masikip na. Like, why couldn't he just get me a G-Wagon like I asked him to, you know? Grabe, he hates you talaga. He really hates me. Well, for me, I was like so excited to finally move into the condo in Rockwell that my parents promised me after graduation. But one thing they failed to tell me was the condo is a freaking studio unit. It's okay, bro. It's okay. With only one parking slot. God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers, bro. Yeah, true. I just can't be this resilient anymore, bro.
At sinasabi ko sa inyo, wala akong pakialam kahit maubos lahat ng DE sa Pilipinas. Kahit maubos lahat ng RD sa Pilipinas. Wala akong pakialam. Kung kinakailangan maubos kayong lahat, uubusin namin kayo. At ipopromote na lang natin yung mga maayos dito sa DPWH na hindi ginagawa yung kamukha nung ginawa dito.
Staring at the blank page before you, open up the dirty window, let the sun illuminate the words that you cannot find, reaching for something in the distance, so close you can almost taste it, release your inhibitions, feel the rain on your skin, no one else can feel it.
The thing with mimics is a lot of people don't even realize that they have encountered one. It's only until later when they kind of piece things together that they realize maybe that person wasn't real. Now, this is a story out of Los Angeles. There was this older man named Sam, and Sam had this very large house. He decided, since he had all this space, that he was going to look for a roommate. So he puts an ad in the newspaper, and he ends up finding this young med student who is going to med school and needed a room. So he decides to rent to this girl, and she moves in. After a few months of living together, one day his roommate says, "Hey Sam, when you got a moment, can I talk to you?" And Sam says, "Well, I got a moment now, like, what's wrong?" And she goes, "Well, I don't want to come off the wrong way, but your friend keeps scaring me." And he goes, "What do you mean, friend?" And she goes, "Well, your friend that you have over, like, I see him sometimes in the hallway walk into your bedroom." And Sam is like, "I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I don't have any friends really, and I wouldn't have them over at the house." And she goes, no, you know, you're tall, very tall and skinny friend, you know, and that's kind of gangly and walks funny, you know, I see him go into your bedroom. And Sam is just, you know, really confused about who she's talking about because he never had anyone over at the house. So Sam goes, "Well, what did he, you know, what could you remember what he looked like?" And she goes, "Well, you know, it was too dark to see in the hallway. So all I know is he was just really tall and kind of walking funny." So Sam, you know, just kind of is like, okay, I don't know what she's talking about. So the next night, Sam's in his bedroom, and his roommate, she comes in his room and is like, "Is it okay if I talk to you for a little bit? I'm kind of nervous about, you know, yesterday talking to you and finding out you didn't have a friend that was coming over because I've been seeing someone." And Sam's like, "Yeah, absolutely, that's all right." So they start talking, and, you know, she goes on to tell Sam how when she was a young girl, she had this friend that she called Mr. Guy. And she said Mr. Guy was this very tall, skinny man who would, play with her and hang out with her. And she said that, like, when she seen his friend, it reminded her of her imaginary friend, Mr. Guy. And so, like, they end up kind of connecting through her telling him about her childhood stories. So every night, this roommate would come into Sam's room and they would talk for hours, and he enjoyed it because he was, alone. After a few months, she comes to Sam one day and says, Sam, like, I'm sorry to tell you this, but I'm going to be moving. My boyfriend has a new house, and I'm going to move in with him. And so I'm sorry, I'm going to have to move out. And Sam goes, well, that's okay. You've been a really good roommate. And I really appreciate our talks every night. And she looks at Sam, like, kind of confused. She goes, what do you mean our talks every night? And Sam goes, well, when you've been coming in my room every night and we've talked about your family and this and that. And she's like, I haven't been coming in your room. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And, well, Sam goes, well, how do I know this and this and this from your childhood? And she's like, yeah, that happened, but, like, I don't know how you would know that because I haven't been coming in your room talking to you. And then it clicked to Sam, like, wait a second. I remember when she said she's seen my friend walking into my bedroom. Like, was that the person coming into my room talking to me?
Para po kasi ang ganda-ganda ng report niyo. Pero pagdating po sa aktual, hindi po yan ang nire-report ng mga manggagawa. Samot-sari na mga violation po ang sinusumbong sa kinatawang ito na hindi pagtalima ng napakaraming establishmento. Dito pa lang ho yan sa NCR. Halimbawa po niyan, naglabas ng wage order na itaas ang sahod ng mga manggagawa ng 50 pesos. Hanggang ngayon, maraming establishmento ang hindi nagpapatupad ng wage order na nilabas. At ito rin po ang nangyayari sa iba't ibang mga rehiyon. Bagamat nire-report po ng inyong ahensya na compliant, mataas ang compliance rates, ay libo-libo, daan-libo na mga manggagawa ang nagsusumbong na hindi nila natatanggap yung mga basic labor rights nila. So nais po namin makipagtulungan sa inyong ahensya.
Open po ang Department of Labor and Employment at tutugunan po namin yung napabanggit ninyo. Hindi po naman namin sugarcoat po yung report. Pwede pong i-validate yun batay po sa aming performance.
So nagko-commit po ang Department of Labor and Employment na pwede po nating puntahan mismo yung mga kumpanya na hindi compliant sa ating labor standards.
Pwede po bigyan nyo po kami ng listahan.
Tara na, kamanggagawa.
The category is dance or die.
College of Health Sciences Dance Sport Team. Ladies and gentlemen, the reigning Pythons.
Dance or die.
Pabili ng yogurt.
Tubig, sir.
Sige,